Lopes fans, welcome in. My name is Brennan Williams, and this is Go Lopes Radio. We have a really exciting show for you guys as we gear up for GCU's first game in the Mountain West. And they have one of the tougher road trips of the season. They go to Laramie to take on Wyoming, a team who has overachieved quite a bit so far. And so this will be a really good test. And so we had to bring in a great guest, and that is Tyler King, who is the host of the Basketball in the Mountains podcast. I went on his show preseason, talking all things Lopes as they made the move to the Mountain West, and conference play is already here. So we had to bring him in and, chat with him a little bit about Wyoming, kind of what's led to their success. We talked a little Mountain West kind of macro conversation at the end. So some really cool talking points there as well. So we really appreciate Tyler hopping on the podcast. But guys, this is kind of a unique time in the schedule for GCU. Obviously, Saturday, they have to travel, go on the road. They have to come back home Monday and play IU Indy, who is maybe the fastest college basketball team of all time. They aren't very good, but they play really fast. It is going to be a track meet and a really quick turnaround for this team before Christmas. And then they get quite a bit of time off, which is really nice before they come back home. And conference play really officially ramps up for a few months there. And they will host Colorado State at home on January 3rd. So make sure, you guys are staying locked in. I know college football playoffs this Saturday. We've got, obviously, Christmas right around the corner, but a really pivotal game for GCU basketball this Saturday. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Final piece of news here, guys. Former Lope, hometown hero, Gabe McGlothan. We're really excited for him. A guy who I think we've even talked about a little bit this year. Like, you've seen just how much this program maybe misses or could really use a guy like him and just what he did for this team, the program, the athletic department, the university, all that. He just got called up to the Indiana Pacers on a 10-day. He's been crushing it in the G League for the Pacers. Really, the Pacers in a really weird spot where, they go to the finals, obviously the Halliburton injury, and things haven't gone their way this year. So they're kind of trying some stuff out and plugging and playing some guys in. And it is an opportunity for Gabe McGlothan to see his first regular season NBA minutes. He's played a little bit in the preseason, obviously a ton of G League, but really to get on the floor, the first Lope to do it, I believe, in about 30 years almost. So it'd be really exciting for Gabe to get out there for GCU's a program. And so just keep an eye out for that. Their next game is Thursday night. Ironically enough, they host the Knicks, but it is in Indiana. And so a really cool opportunity for Gabe to maybe see his first playing time, like I said, regular season NBA. Keep your eyes peeled for that ahead of GCU's game this Saturday. Well, guys, one last final ask. If you guys haven't already, please just make sure you subscribe wherever you listen, you watch, especially as we ramp up here for conference play. Over here, Go Lopes Radio, small shop. We do what we can to give you guys really good content and build some excitement for GC Hoops. So, subscribing, wherever that might be, really means a ton to us over here, and the support, maybe sharing with a friend. We really appreciate it. But guys, let's head over to that conversation with Tyler as we get ready for GCU's Mountain West opener this Saturday as GCU travels out to Laramie to take on the Wyoming Cowboys. Hey guys, welcome in. Really exciting episode ahead of a really good college basketball game this Saturday. GCU taking on Wyoming, and we have got Tyler King. Listen, he's a busy man. He hosts Basketball in the Mountains, a podcast that he does. He is a reporter for the Denver Gazette, the Colorado Springs Gazette. He wears a lot of hats, literally and figuratively, covers a lot of teams, and he's spending some time to talk to us about GCU Wyoming. Tyler, how we doing?
I'm doing great, Brendan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it feels like literally yesterday I was on your podcast. There were so many unknowns. GCU's coming to the Mountain West. It literally feels like yesterday, and we are here. We've got our first Mountain West game, and we were just talking a little bit off camera. Holy smokes. I mean, what a slate. It is here. I love non-conference games. Don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of MTEs now, kind of sucking that energy. Conference basketball, though, I'll tell you what, man, that to me feels like the essence of college basketball. How excited are you just in general?
Super excited. Yeah, like you said, it's a great slate to kick off Mountain West play. We've got an expanded Mountain West conference schedule this season with obviously GCU coming in this year. The only time I guess we're going to have this many Mountain West games with half the league almost leaving for the new look Pac-12 next year. But this GCU Wyoming game up in Laramie on Saturday, is one of a bunch of really good ones. Probably the second best game, if I had to say, in the Mountain West this week. Obviously, with Colorado State and Utah State meeting in Logan as well on Saturday. Those are the two top teams, in my opinion, in the Mountain West, at least through non-conference play. But GCU, Wyoming, obviously two very intriguing teams for a variety of reasons, off the differing starts. But obviously GCU's had a lot tougher non-conference schedule, which I'm sure we'll talk about with Wyoming here a little bit. But both teams probably feeling pretty good with where they are. Now they get to face each other up at the Dome of Doom that Wyoming coach Sundance Wicks is calling it up there in Laramie, trying to get everybody out there for the game, because they haven't had great attendance so far, but they're a fun team. So I think they're trying to drum up some interest up there.
Yeah, he's always good for a quote. He's a good time at media day, that's for sure. And I'm curious, before we maybe get into some X's and O's, kind of just talking high level. You're talking it a little bit. Just this game, all of a sudden, Wyoming. It's a little bit of a, hey, are you going to prove it? You could maybe pick apart their schedule just a little bit if you wanted. You've got GCU, who maybe hasn't been the best version of themselves, but maybe showing improvement. They're also making their Mountain West debut. There's kind of, I hate to say, a lot at stake, and it's not necessarily a fork in the road game, but just speaking high level, just kind of talking about both teams. I mean, yeah, how excited for you are this? And is it too early to start weighing? It feels like every game, every weekend in the Mountain West is a big weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the Mountain West, you got to kind of take care of your home games. So I think this is an important one for Wyoming. And yeah, I'm eager to see what they look like, because, like you said, I think it's more than fair to not question, but yeah, I'd be skeptical with Wyoming at 9-2 with their record. Obviously, they're 88th in KenPom right now, which is 6th among Mountain West teams, which feels pretty fair. They're 84th in offense, 101st in defense, but their strength of schedule is 327 out of 365 college basketball teams. Yeah. So their best win in terms of KenPom is 184 South Dakota State. They beat Austin Peay, who's 185. So they only have 2 wins over top 200 teams in KenPom. Obviously, they played Texas Tech really close.
Yeah, played them
on
tough.
The road in a great game down there. Obviously, former Wyoming coach Jeff Linder is the top assistant for Grant McCaslin at Texas Tech. So that's kind of a game they've been playing in recent years. And Sundance Wicks coached under Jeff Linder at Wyoming as an assistant before he moved on to his first head coaching opportunity at Green Bay. So the stats are there for this Wyoming team, though. Like, they're number 1 in offense, number 2 in scoring margin. These are all in the Mountain West. Number 3 in field goal offense and defense, number 1 in rebounding margin, number 1 in offensive rebounding rate, number 3 in three-pointers, 3-point attempts or 3-point makes per game. Like, this is an explosive offense, but how much of that is the part of the schedule and just how good they are? I think we're going to find that out this week against Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but let's maybe go back to preseason. I know you keep an eye on a lot of those Rocky Mountain teams. Mm-hmm. So just when you go back to preseason and you think of what this Wyoming team could have been, maybe some expectations. I know there's excitement. We know, Sundance Wicks is, like we said, always good for a quote. Did you see a high ceiling for this team? Obviously still more to prove, but I'm just curious, when you kind of contradict what they've done so far, and they've been really impressive. They came in at 190 KenPom, I think, before the season, and they've been able to move up. So did you have this on the table for them?
If you would have told me they were 9-2 after non-conference play, I could have seen that, just given how easy the schedule kind of looked on paper. But I mean, the way they're doing it, I think, is what is really impressive. And we'll talk about some of the key guys that are a part of this so far. But I mean, I'm a believer in Sundance Wicks. I mean, he came on my podcast before the season. He's, like you said, he's great for a quote. He's a high energy guy. Yep. And he obviously has a proven track record of success at this point of his career. And I think the people in Wyoming, he's done enough that you should be willing to buy in, or to at least the long-term future of what Wyoming could be basketball wise. I mean, it's going to be a place that's always tough to keep talent, even when you attract it. Their top player from last year, Obi Ogbim, is at Baylor now.
Yep.
He was.
GCU saw them in the preseason. Yeah, he was impressive. He can shoot it.
Yeah, he was their. I mean, he was their entire offense and barely their entire team last year. So it's. I mean, with teams like Wyoming, you're gonna have to rebuild just about every year. It's kind of the state of the Mountain West with teams like that. The retention rate for these guys on these for these coaches on these rosters is just really tough to deal with because if the guy's not playing, he's probably gonna leave, or if the guy is too good, then he's probably gonna move up a level. So it's difficult. So you never really know what you're getting, but I always trust Sundance to bring talented guys in, and obviously he's done that so far this year. So, like you said, like I said, it's 9-2 is not a surprise to me, the record that they have, but the fact that they've been doing it in this impressive of fashion, particularly offensively, I think, and some of the effort stuff. Like I said, you don't lead the Mountain West in offensive rebounding rate without playing hard because
Yeah,
this
we're
is not a
11
big
games
team.
in. Yep.
This is not a big team. They have one guy, I think, that's 6'10" or above, and he doesn't really even play. So, it's an average height team. They just play really hard defensively, and maybe they've gotten some good luck with teams not shooting well against them from three, and they've shot the ball well. That could regress a little bit on both ends, but I think you have to be encouraged for Wyoming for what they've shown so far. And I didn't really think the ceiling was going to be that high because I didn't really know kind of about the ceiling for me in college basketball is determined based on your individual talent, and you just can't really know going into year when guys are either leveling up or it's freshmen. But they've got two really high level guys, and I think that has certainly elevated the ceiling. So at least for now, for Wyoming.
Yeah, I remember at Mountain West Media Day, Sundance Wicks, he said maybe he didn't think as much about the elevation and how much that could potentially be an asset, how tough it is to travel there. Obviously, kind of the butt of a lot of jokes for Mountain West teams, right? Having to go there just because it's a tough travel place, right? And
it's often freezing cold in January and February.
I mean, GCU is going to be coming up there. I know you said it was a little warmer kind of where you're at, which is close-ish. So I'm sure it's not like freezing like it could be, but it's still
definitely moderate for this time of the year here in the Front Range. Yeah.
So, it sounds like he was really looking forward to leaning in, and all those stats you listed off earlier, specifically on the offensive end. They play a lot of guards. I believe they're leading the nation in bench points, close to it. It sounds like he's leaning into like, hey, let's just kind of go this way. We were talking a little bit about IU Indy, who GCU plays after Wyoming, how much they've just leaned into it. Now, IU Indy, not very good. They've just said, this is going to be a track meet, and then we're going to have a basketball, right? Wyoming has done something similar, maybe not at, sloppy, like there seems to be something still behind it. Everything seems to be purposeful, though. So talk about that offense. They've had some success from the three-point line. They've had some success inside the arc by playing a lot of guards. To me, that's really impressive. And then you mentioned the offensive rebounding as well. Talk about how unique of a dynamic that is. I believe the 5 leading scorers are guards, but to be top 50 in offensive rebounding, that, like you said, that seems like some really high tier effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, they don't play a lot of big guys. Like I think Matija Bilic is like 6'7". He's one of the few big guys that starts. They've got Gavin Gores, who's a freshman, who's I think he might be like 6'9", 6'10", a Wyoming kid who's a big kid. But other than that, yeah, like it is a lot of guards, and it's kind of a lot of movement. When you watch the games offensively, like if there's a ball screen on ball, there's an off ball screen happening too to kind of free guys up, and they're always, like I said, it's a constant movement system, and they're trying to get shots for their top 2 guys, Leland Walker and Nas Meyer, who might be the best freshman in the Mountain West at this point. I think he's won Mountain West Freshman of the Week 3 straight weeks now. He's definitely the key guy to watch with just how much he's emerged these last 2 weeks in particular. But they have a lot of different guys I think can beat you. But it is Walker and Meyer that I think are the 2 guys. Like I think that in 8 of the 11 games, one of those 2 has been the leading scorer for the team. So those are the 2 guys you probably got to key in on. But it's a lot of movement stuff. Like I said, it's a lot of getting guys, whether they're good 3-point shooters, trying to get them open, off ball screen or all that kind of stuff, pin downs. And then for the guys that are good near the rim, trying to get them as much space as possible and get it out running in transition and trying to create off of second chance opportunities, like we said, which they create a lot of. So it is a really fun team to watch. And like you said, it's a lot of it is effort stuff, which credit to the coaching staff for getting a new look group to kind of buy into everything.
Yep.
Like I said, because it is not a very big team, which Grand Canyon should have an advantage in that regard. But I mean, height doesn't always matter if the other team wants it a little bit more. So we'll see how that translates. But it is going to be like a chaotic offense at times for GCU to have to game plan for. So I'm sure the coaching staff is not enjoying that, trying to put the game plan in for this week.
Yeah, I think, if you're a Lopes fan, you got to look at this and you got to say, this feels like they've had similar tests to this. So you got to be honest, right? They have Youngstown State early in the season, guard heavy, shoot a lot of threes. They failed that test. There's no way around it. They were, 16-point favorites. They lose at home by 9. They get a somewhat similar test, a really dang good St. Louis team, lots of guards, playing fast, shooting threes, getting in transition. And they were down by 27, I think, with like 7 minutes left. They were able to kind of get it a little bit closer. This seems like almost kind of a third iteration with a good college basketball team where they're going to have that sort of test where it's a lot of guards, it's a lot of threes, it's a lot of effort. And I think GCU's made some improvements in those areas, but we're going to find out on Saturday. You can talk about it. I know Bryce has talked about it. They've had some good moments. They play Oklahoma State. It was good. They still lose, but the effort was really good. So this feels like another great opportunity to maybe kind of get that monkey off their back and win a game like this and show, you got to be able to win games multiple ways. And especially in the Mountain West, we were talking about Colorado State a little bit. Holy smokes. You better guard the three or you're going to be out of the game before you get your head up. So this is going to be a great opportunity for GCU to show if they can pass that test. You mentioned Leland Walker. I was watching some tape of his, and I think what makes him really unique, he's only about 6'1". Maybe he's going to list himself at 6'2", but gosh, man,
6'1" might even be generous for him.
Yeah. He's getting involved in other ways. He's 14 points, 4 boards, 4 assists. So often you see those smaller guys. It's, hey man, I'm going to make some shots. I'm going to make some threes. If not, we'll kind of float around here. So you talk about the effort. I mean, he seems to be the guy as well who kind of is the best, kind of example of that. So talk about his game and why, yes, you got to be careful. He can light it up on you, but why what makes him so special and why does he stay so engaged and willing to do the other things?
I've been so impressed with his ability to finish around the rim so far this year. That's kind of the one thing that sticks out. That's been sticking out to me when I watch these Wyoming games. He was a guy that I had my eye on coming into the year, a guy that I asked Sundance Wicks about on my podcast because it felt like, a guy that was a really good scorer at Eastern Kentucky as a sophomore, didn't have as big of a role for FAU last year, another really good a mid-major program, but he comes to Wyoming to kind of be the senior leader in the guard spot. Like you said, he's distributing the ball. I think he's a guy that's always been kind of a good passer. I think he's a career 4 assists per game guy, and that's where he is right now for Wyoming. He's going to try to make plays for others, especially lately, like I said, with Naz Meyer really coming on for this group. Not a great 3-point shooter. I think he's a career 32%.
Hasn't got that going this year.
Yeah, he's a little under 31% this season. That's not really his game, but like I said, I think he's a really good finisher around the rim. He's a good mid-range guy as well. Can kind of get to his spots, and I think he's really trying to set up his teammates as well. Because like we said, I think the other night in their win over South Dakota State, they had 10 guys play at least 10 minutes, which is kind of hard to do. Like they're trying to get a lot of guys involved because they feel like the depth is probably going to be something they can use to their advantage, especially at altitude. Against teams that might not have 9 or 10 guys that they feel confident playing. That this staff is willing to trust guys, and hopefully for them, like Leland Walker and the guys that are at the top of the roster can help guys keep them engaged and get them involved when they are on the floor, because him, Naz Meyer, these are the guys that are going to be dominating the minutes in this game. So I think Sundance Wicks and the coaching staff has got to be really thrilled with what they've gotten out of Leland Walker so far. Like a veteran transfer, just kind of doing exactly what you would expect to do as one of the veteran guys in the Mountain West. Played a lot of college hoops, just kind of doing, like I said, everything they kind of need him to do on a night in and night out basis.
Yeah, not a flash in the pan. If you can score 28 on a Grant McCasland defense, which he had against Texas Tech, I'm sorry, you're pretty dang good at basketball. That is really impressive stuff for him. I also love, watching him. He's involved. Like he's using on defense. He's kind of just poking and prodding and looking for the right time. Like it's not like he's, necessarily like that guy with the red cape with the bull who just lets someone go past him. He seems to really want to like genuinely fight when he's out there on defense as well. Even at the only 6'1", And I just think that, we talk about college basketball. Guards are, I think, what makes college basketball so special. We get a guy like him, man, that's so engaged and has that kind of want to, sets the tone for everything. So, a guy, if you're Lopes fans, you have to keep an eye on him. And I'm sure Bryce is drawing up a game plan and having multiple options what to do with him. But you've mentioned a few other names. So I want you to just say, hey, if you're a GCU fan, you have got to keep an eye out for this guy. This is a guy who could swing the game on Saturday, whether it's scoring the ball, whether it's defensively, what it may be. Just tell us about maybe one or two guys you have circled that have been really impressive for this Wyoming team.
Yeah, obviously Leland Walker and Nasir Nazmeyer are the two top guys at the roster. I mean, Meyer is a freshman from the LA area. He actually played his prep ball in New Hampshire, so he's kind of been around the country, a little bit kind of away from home for him in Laramie, but he seems to have enjoyed it so far, and he's got 51 points in the last 2 games for the Pokes. So he's definitely got to watch. But the other guy to watch, I think, is Caden Bennett, another veteran guy. He's only 6'4", but he is the epitome of what I was talking about in terms of competing. He's a Quinnipiac transfer, a guy who did a little bit of everything for that team last year, but he's averaging 5 rebounds a game. And the other day he had 4 offensive rebounds in the win over South Dakota State. He had 9 total rebounds. And like I said, only 6'4". So he's the guy that is kind of trying to do the dirty work. He had 9 rebounds and only took 5 shots. Like, this is a guy that's wanting to do whatever it takes for this team, especially being that third guard in the starting lineup alongside Walker and Meyer. So, Caden Bennett is definitely another guy I think you got to watch for, a guy that's going to really crash the glass and try to set the other 2 guards up for success offensively, be that top defender on the perimeter, all that kind of stuff. He's definitely a guy that can change the game with his effort, whether it's on the glass or getting steals, getting out in transition, all that kind of stuff. He's a guy that I think could swing this game.
Well, yeah. Also, if you're Naz Meyer and you're shooting 45% from 3, that'll help as well as a freshman to get you kind of in up to speed with college basketball.
He doesn't need a lot of space to get that shot off either.
Yeah.
He lets it fly.
Yeah, so really impressive. It's, again, GCU, like we said, with Youngstown State, they really struggled. Youngstown came in and they said, we are going to shoot a lot of threes, and they weren't ready for it, caught them off guard. This is another team where if you're GCU, those contests got to be good. You can't foul jump shooters. That's been a little bit of a problem for them this year, and they got multiple options. And so I think that, makes this a really unique matchup. But tell us, if I were to say, hey, Wyoming wins this game on Saturday, why would they win the game? Like, what do they, when they're at their best, what do they do? And what allows them to maybe get that first signature win of the season?
I think it will be the offensive rebounding. Like I said, it's, even in non-conference play, it's hard to you take some stats with a grain of salt. But I think an offensive rebounding rate of 38% is not an accident for a team that does not have great size. Like, I think if they were just bigger than everybody else that they were playing, like I said, it's not been great opponents, but they have not had a big size advantage in really any of their games so far this year. So I think that would be a big reason why. And then just getting this similar production of Naz Meyer, who really is turning into a star right before our eyes. He's going to be a guy that's going to be difficult for Wyoming to keep, but if they are, he could be a multi-year stud for this Wyoming program because he's a guy that had really good offers. Like, I think he was down to Arizona State, Marquette, and Wyoming in his final 3 as a 3-star recruit. But he has really exceeded all expectations. Like, he shot the ball really efficiently the other day in the South Dakota State game, 10 of 14 from the field, 4 of 6 on threes. Like I said, he's a guy that's going to really, really compete defensively as well. So I think the offensive rebounding, and then just letting Naz Meyer continue to ascend, because at this point he's on his way to winning Mountain West Freshman of the Year, because he's that good.
Yeah, it really is. It's not necessarily a contradicting of styles, but GCU obviously has more size. F.A. Demerol really playing well. I know we've talked about that in exchange a little bit, kind of slowly piecing things together. He's looking really, really impressive, and so that's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. He's got to go on the road in college basketball, and so some of that size, Nana Wusu-Anane, who hasn't shot the ball well.
But he's leading the Mountain West rebounding, so that's it's gonna be a tough challenge, or an interesting clash with Nana against this really high energy Wyoming
kind of group gang rebounding.
That
is gonna be fascinating to watch. Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on it. I believe we've got 2 p.m. this Saturday, GCU Wyoming. Give us, I got to do it. You're here. I got to hear a pick. You got to make a decision. You can't ride the fence here. What do you think for Saturday?
I think Wyoming is gonna take this one. I think they're gonna be able to prove that this non-conference schedule they had, or the run they had in non-conference, was not a fluke. Like, they've had a lot of big big margin of victories. Like I said, number 2 in only behind Utah State in scoring margin in the Mountain West. So it's not like they're just skating by against a relatively easy schedule. And I think it's a statement that, Wyoming is the team that could be in the top half of the Mountain West this season, which I wasn't sure they had that kind of ceiling. I felt pretty confident going into the year that they were going to be above the bottom tier of the Air Force, the Fresno State, the San Jose State, Nevada tier. I felt like they were slightly above that, but this could be a sign that they are a top half of the league team, and could be right behind the likes of Utah State and Colorado State. And I mean, if you're going to be in that group with GCU and with Boise State at this point of the year, you've got to win your home games, and I think they'll use that to their advantage. And they've had they'll have a decent amount of time here this week to get ready for this game, and I think Wyoming will be able to squeak one out. I think it will be a close game though, and I'm looking forward to it because I think it is going to be exciting to see Grand Canyon, who arguably is probably more talented, but I think Wyoming's got a good game plan and got a couple guys, like I said, that are emerging with Nas Meyer and Leland Walker, a veteran, that I think they'll have just enough to squeak one out at home in what should be an exciting game.
Yeah, this is I can't get over how fascinating this game is, right? You've seen signs from this GCU team, especially defensively. We know Bryce has had a ton of success, kind of building towards, Vegas in the past. So we'll see. This feels like a massive kind of litmus test for this group. So we'll see how that goes. Since we've got you here, I'm going to surprise you with one question. What is your biggest, if you've got two, give it to us, but your biggest Mountain West takeaways? We are here almost through the end of non-con. You can go positive or negative, whichever you feel are your two biggest takeaways that you've seen so far, general Mountain West basketball play.
I will do one positive and one negative. And the positive I will give you is Colorado State is for real. This is a team that I've watched a ton of. I was not really sure. I had them, I think, 3rd or 4th in the Mountain West preseason media poll. I think they ended up coming in 6th or 7th. I thought that was way too low. I thought this team had a chance, just watching them in the preseason and all that kind of stuff and seeing what this roster looked like. I thought they had a chance to be a bubble team in the NCAA tournament, and I think they are for sure that at this point. Obviously, they had one disappointing non-conference loss to Denver, but a couple good home wins, or a couple good MTE wins over Wichita State, South Florida. They beat Colorado in a rivalry game, and now like I said, they've got this massive road game to kick off conference play at Utah State on Saturday. And I think these are the two best teams in the conference right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of them end up in the NCAA tournament. So I think Colorado State's for real. The 3-point shooting is ridiculous, number 1 in the country. But they're a deep team that I think that will be a scary one to play in the Mountain West, because I don't think, whether it's coming to Moby Arena or seeing them come into your building, I don't think they're going to be the team anybody wants to play this year. So I think my first takeaway is that Colorado State is for real. And my second one is that I don't really know what to expect from San Diego State at this point of the year.
It's been weird.
I think it was fair for them to be the preseason favorite going into the season. They have the two best individual players in the conference with Miles Bird and McGlothan, at least from like an NBA perspective. But they've had some puzzling losses. They lost to Troy in like a 108-107
that was a wild game.
Earlier in the year.
That was a wild one.
They've bounced back. I mean, they lost to Baylor. They got killed by Michigan, which everybody's gotten killed by Michigan at this point of the season. But and they've got they play Air Force tomorrow night, I think, and then they've got Arizona on Saturday
here in Phoenix, by the way.
Yeah, the number 1 team in the country. Which I did an episode on Arizona on my podcast earlier this week. So that's going to be a really tough test for them. But it's just an interesting team so far. Like I thought they would have a chance. I mean, they beat Oregon. That was a nice win, but it just hasn't looked the greatest either for San Diego State. So. I thought they would be not far and away, but I thought they would be the top team in the Mountain West even after non-conference play. So, but now I'm not so sure. Like they're not. Utah State, I think, is clearly number 1 with what they've been able to do, and then I don't think they're better than Colorado State or Boise State right now. So that would be my one negative takeaway, is that San Diego State might be the 4th best team in the Mountain West after coming in as the preseason favorites.
Yeah, both fascinating storylines. We talked about Colorado State a little bit preseason, and I'm a big, especially mid-major wise, trying to kind of keep things internal. And obviously, if you're going to have a coach leave, best case scenario is you can bring a guy in that was already on the bench that can really hold things over. and
It's been a
hit the
seamless
ground running.
transition for Colorado State with
And
Ali Farokhmanesh.
I mean, they've got to be.
Yeah, he was the guy running the offense the last couple of years anyway. He's the lead recruiter. He's a big on-court development guy too. Nick Clifford, his rise at CSU, becoming an NBA player and a first-round draft pick, was a lot of that he credited Ali Farokhmanesh. So no real surprise to me that he's been able to have early success in his first year. I think he's a rising star in the coaching world.
Yeah, gosh, it's been a really compelling non-con so far. We've seen some teams, what started as kind of like
it was not great for the Mountain West to begin with. It was not great, but it's gotten a little bit better now.
Some weird losses, but yeah, I think some teams are really improving. And man, it's just every week we're going to be getting this Mountain West, man. It is really no nights off. Obviously, Air Force, not super good. Fresno looks a lot better than what I would have thought. You catch
San
them
Jose
on the
State
wrong
plays
night.
a fun brand of ball too with Tim Miles. They're a good offensive team at least.
So I think, yeah, if you're a fan of any of those teams in the Mountain West, obviously GCU fans, buckle up, man. We've got essentially 3 months of this that is going to be chaos, night in, night out. It's going to be
a lot of good
really
environments.
awesome.
Enjoy it.
Oh yeah, especially once we get to spring, right? It's the students are back, no more holidays. The environments are going to be good. Tough road trips. You're going to have teams playing each other twice. Maybe some tension. Maybe some of that drama comes up with some teams leaving. I feel like that's kind of been a little bit of a non-story. We'll see if that plays into anything at all. But, man, we are excited to kick it off Saturday. I can't wait for this game. But, Tyler, we appreciate you hopping on and talking GCU Wyoming. Can you really quick just tell us where we can find you, where we can listen to you, all that stuff?
Yeah, I got my podcast, Basketball in the Mountains, which I talk about all of the teams in the Mountain Time Zone from college to NBA. So if you're a Suns fan, you can tune in there, do a lot of coverage of the Suns as well. I had you, Brennan, on earlier before the season, talk GCU. I'm sure you'll be on at some point here in the near future to talk about this Lopes team. Like I said, I had an episode on Arizona earlier this week, number one team in the country. A lot coming. I talk Nuggets too, because I'm here in Denver, go to a lot of their games, and I cover Colorado State, all the teams here on the Front Range. So you can go subscribe to Basketball in the Mountains on Spotify, Apple, or over, I post all the episodes on my YouTube channel as well, at King_Tyler B over there as well. You can follow me on Twitter, follow the show Basketball in the Mountains on Twitter as well if you just search it. So appreciate you having me on as always.
Of course, Tyler. We really appreciate it. Excited to get this thing going, man. We've got a fun few months ahead of us, so really looking forward to it. Appreciate your time. And, cheers.